goddess formless, listen. Chakras align and glisten. We teleport, astral project. Welcome to Hoodies, the podcast. Like, comment, sub, ask. We go with deeper the blast. I don't even know what a lane is. Ain't no lane. Shit ain't no box, or maybe yeah, that's what a lane is. Universal. We the free thinkers. Remove the void of blinkers. Wear the mic, God tell the truth. Scared men, we call them stinkers. Cause you're dead stiff and I got the gift. Keeping the black right off the rip. And that's on life. If truth was abroad, I would make her my wife. Life in a sauna position. The goddess formless, listen. Just listen. Hoodies the podcast. With the God, yeah.
Listen. I want to say about a week ago or so, a week and a half, I suppose, I was on a flight headed to Chicago, and then I got this FaceTime from my third born son. And it was at that time that he informed me that his mom had died. You know what I'm saying? His mom had battled with lupus for over 10 years. And every now and then, you know, according to my son, she wasn't very vocal, you know, with me in terms of that. Maybe I could have asked more. But according to my son, she would have what he refers to as like a lupus flare-up. I'm sure a lot of you already know what lupus is. However, I had heard lupus this and lupus that throughout some years now, but didn't necessarily know what it was, what it meant, and you know, and just how serious it was. Perhaps I could have asked about that as well, right? So for those of you who don't know, because I just found out myself, lupus is, from what I understand, like, for example, if there's some sort of, because you know how, like, we've got our immune system, we got, you know, white blood cells that fight off harmful bacteria and, you know, just you know, harmful entities that like to enter our bodies and get us sick. So say, for example, there's bad bacteria, for lack of a better term, say trying to attack the heart, which could in turn make the heart sick, right? What lupus does is instead of the white blood cells attacking the bacteria, you know, as it should, instead of it attacking that bacteria that's making the heart sick, what it does is it attacks the heart itself because it's sick and not what's causing it to be sick. So it's for the most part, from what I understand, the white blood cells are fighting the body as opposed to the bacteria that's making it sick. So your own immune system is working against you. So this was something she dealt with, and I suppose there's levels to lupus, all of which I do not know. This is what Gwan was dealing with. That's my son's mom. That is her name, Gwan. This experience is really, oh man, for a lack of a better term, is really bizarre because my youngest son just lost his mother. You know, I can't even imagine what that's like. I know a few brothers and sisters who's lost a father, lost a mother, or even both, right? And I swear every time, you know, I hear these people, you know, when I hear these individuals talk about the loss of a parent, the loss of their mother, you know, just a parent, I can only imagine how heavy that is. You know, just the thought of my own mom passing is just really heavy for me. It's like something, if I think on it too long, it'll bring me to tears. You know what I mean? And I'm such a music dude. So I'm such a music dude till, man, it would be forever for me to even, I don't, do you ever even get over that? At best, I guess you just have to accept the fact that you'll never see that, your parent again, or just a close loved one again. You'll never see them in this dimension. But yeah, so I can only imagine the anguish that my son is going through right now. All I keep replaying in my head is that FaceTime. When he informed me that his mom had died. Plane was getting ready to take off, and part of me just wanted to just be like, yo, stop the plane. And of course I'm started to think, okay, what good does that do? So it took some doing, but I eventually left Chicago, came back here, and then left and went to, of course, be there for my son. What I didn't know was how it would affect me. I didn't quite understand. I mean, it's so much deeper than losing the mother of my son. It's deeper in ways that, like, I can't even necessarily put it into words. Should my son someday decide to get married, that's an experience that we won't be able to share together. Should he decide that someday he wants to become a father, that's an experience we won't share. It's just a heavy piece. I even felt a bit of guilt at the funeral. I felt as though, I don't know, in some weird way, like I didn't feel like I deserved to cry, which I did. I still haven't yet been able to identify the feelings that I'm feeling, and it's just really crazy. And I get this isn't about me. However, this affected me as well. My son's mother was, you got to understand, right? Coming out of a toxic marriage with the mother of my two oldest sons. That relationship between myself and the mother of my two oldest sons, that was just very, 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 very toxic. When I met her, she lived with foster parents. So there was a lot of trauma in her life. Not to mention there was some trauma in my life. And when I say my life or her life, what I mean is there was trauma in our past, right? So you take two youngsters, which we were. We were young as hell, living with trauma, not necessarily knowing how to communicate with each other. It made for a very toxic experience. I find myself, even to this day, apologizing, to my two oldest sons for some of the things they saw and some of the things they heard between their mother and I. So fast forward to a time when I just realized that things between my two oldest sons' mother and myself, I just realized that was just never going to work. In fact, I wanted out. So I moved out of the house that I was living in. This is at the time I'm in the military, so this is military housing. So I moved out of the house and I moved into the barracks. Upon which time I met I met a young lady who would eventually become the mother of my third-born son. So Gwan was my breath of fresh air from such a toxic experience. She was my breath of fresh air. She was, in comparison, very, very normal. I'm sure, having dealt with trauma, in fact, I know she dealt with trauma, especially in past relationships with other men. So yeah, I suppose we was each other's breath of fresh air. So of course time went on and we both procreated. And I can say this, and this is no malice toward the mother of my two oldest sons. This is no malice intended toward her, but out of all my kids, my youngest son was one of the only kids that was conceived out of love. Meaning, at the time, his mother and we were in love. At least I was. I was in love, hands down. I was in love. You know what I'm saying? And of course, as time went on, things didn't last. I believe. Well, I don't believe. I know. At one point in time, she wanted to get married. I had, you know, I had I hadn't been, that long divorced from, my previous marriage. So marriage just, nah, I wasn't there. I wasn't there, not even a little bit. Getting married was like the last thing on my mind. I loved her, you understand? But getting married was the last thing on my mind at the time. Not to mention that I was, at some point after a couple years of dating, that's when I began to, I became a bit of a philanderer. So, and I had been a philanderer, and then once she got wind of it, I'm skipping over all kinds of stuff. I guess I'm just kind of still grieving in my own way. But anyway, once she became, aware that I was doing other things, she even gave me a pass and was like, look, you go ahead and get all that out your system, but when you get that out your system, you come home to me. And I even got that wrong. But that's another story. So anyway, I'm all over the place here. I go to the services, for Gwan. Of course, naturally, my son, he sees me and he's gotten big as hell. He's like fucking behemoth. He's not taller than me, but he's brolic. You know what I mean? He's like 205 and I'm like 186. You know what I'm saying? So, he basically bear hugged me when he seen me. You know what I mean? Like, I played it off like, God damn it, this motherfucker brolic. You know what I'm saying? So, and I ain't even gonna talk about my stay there at the Airbnb that was in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. Me being a city boy. I'm thinking, oh man, it'd be kind of dope to get an Airbnb and, in a little cabin off its own little personal lake and this, that, and the third. Damn, that was dumb. This shit was in the middle, like I said, of buttfuck nowhere. No reception. We're talking Mississippi. Okay, I don't think I mentioned that. I flew to Mississippi, Meridian to be exact. So we're talking poor signal. It was bad, and it, just bad because I should have did a little more research in terms of where this location was going to be. But anyway, fast forward to the next day there, I see Gwan's two other kids. I see her son. She has had another little boy, and I see her daughter, who is like her twin. And I remember once I saw her, I started to weep. Like she looks so much like her mother, And y'all have to forgive me. I'm kind of all over the place. And it just hit me this morning that I'm still dealing with my feelings behind this loss. Like she's gone. So I'm gonna try to make some sense out of this, out of all of this. I'm trying to make some sense out of it. Over the years, Gwan and I, we've just like, I suppose any other parent, we weren't, again, we're not the best communicators. We would fall out over one thing or another. When I got out the military, I had a pretty rough time trying to find my footing in the civilian world. It took a minute, but I got it together. But like I said, we would fall out every now and then. But the last falling out that we had was it had a little more weight to it. It led us to not speak for an extended period of time. Not longer than we would go without speaking. And perhaps that's probably where some of my guilt is coming from, because I even found myself thinking, well, my son, Dominic is his name, my son, shoot, he's got his own phone, and I don't need to go through her to speak with him. So the weight on the relationship between Gwan and I suppose it started to not carry a lot of weight at all. You know what I'm saying? The significance of that relationship. And it's like it wasn't until I got the word that, she was no longer here that it really opened my eyes to, damn, it's kind of stupid. This last following out, of course, had a little something to do with money. And this is not to talk greasy about my son's mother. Of course not, right? But, we would have issues with money to where I felt as though from time to time she would rip me off, right? And I felt that it was also wrong I felt that it was also wrong for her to make it seem as though she was well within her rights to do that to me. And what I mean by rip me off, I mean, for example, just for example, there was the Million Man March, the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. And I bought a plane ticket, or should I say I sent the money, for a plane ticket to be purchased on her end, to purchase a plane ticket so that I could fly my son out here with me, and we were going to go to the Million Man March together. I think it would have been a really beautiful moment for he and I to bond, right? And let's just say that that money came up, and I would transfer these funds through my son's account. Boom, I could do it right from my phone. So let's just say the day of, or should I say the day before, we were supposed to go to the march, the money mysteriously came up missing out of my son's account. And she told me that, well, the money just came up missing. I can see, if money is being deposited into my son's account, I can see if it's being withdrawn from it. And it tells me the way in which the money is being withdrawn, via ATM or going into the branch. You understand? So it showed that the money was taken out through an ATM. She was unaware that I could see this, so the money just mysteriously came up missing. And then when it was found, she said she needed it, so she kept it and she used it. I felt as though I was being ripped off. There were other incidents. There were other incidents in regards to money just mysteriously coming up missing. Like, for example, say one day she would reach out to me, and her desire would be to do something for our son, but whatever it is she'd do with the money would be from both of us. Okay? So she tells me what she wants to do. I'm like, boom, whatever. I send the money. In fact, I send more than what she asked for. So I send the money. My son's birthday comes. And, so his birthday comes, so then he texts me and asks me for money. He's like, yo, Pop, is it all right if I can borrow, just $20 so I can pay my phone bill? So naturally, I'm like, man, you must have really ran through that money. And I'm not mad. Okay, I get it. You must have really ran through that money. So he's like, what money? I'm like, what do you mean, what money? So I'm like, the money that I sent you. He says, I didn't get it. So I'm not happy about that. So turns out, she got the money. What she did with the money, it was not done on behalf of both moms and pop. And when I spoke about it, that was when, of course, well, who's paying for his uniform? Who's paying for these lights that he need to see? And who's paying for all these things that a single parent does? Again, I felt like I was ripped off. You know what I'm saying? If more money was needed for other things, our relationship was cool enough to where she could have just asked for it. So that's what I mean when I say I was ripped off, and there's other accounts of similar activity. So it came to a point to where my son called me, said he needed something, or his mom needed something, and it was monetary. At this time, I was a little fed up. Like, nah, I'm not sending no money for this, that, and the third. And then I gave my son reasons as to why. At the time, I had previously flown him out here for his 18th birthday. We were supposed to half that, but I fronted the bill and just told her to pay me back later. She did not. There was another incident around that time to where I was supposed to go and see my son on senior night. She said she would front the bill for me. She did not. I became a little upset about that. Again, I felt like I was ripped off. I did not get back the half of the ticket money. And anyway, fast forward to the moment my son expresses to me that his mom needed some money to pay off her car so that she could give it to him, yada, yada, yada. Upon which time I said no. I'm not giving any money, and this is the reason why. I listed some other things along with the things I just stated just now. What I'm saying is, I called myself standing on principle. Okay? From that incident, she texted me, but the communication was not verbal. We had some words going back and forth. I was called a couple names. I did not return fire. So from that incident, we didn't speak. We hadn't spoken since that incident. I felt as though I was standing on principle. So now, looking back, I can't help but to feel, damn, I should have just sent that money. I should have just sent the money. But I thought I was standing on principle. There's a million and one things that go through your mind when someone dies. And when it happened, you weren't necessarily on good terms. I should have reached out sooner. If not to say, hey, boom, here's the money. I should have reached out so much sooner. Just to clear the air. Just to reestablish some sort of peace with the mother of my kid. And I didn't do that. And perhaps that was on us both. Perhaps the onus was on us both, but I can only hold myself responsible, you know what I'm saying, for what I did or didn't do, for what I said or didn't say. So, fast forward to the services. In Mississippi. The service was held in Newton. I'm going to go ahead and say it's Newton, Mississippi. I guess that's another town. Or maybe Newton is a part of Meridian. I'm not sure, but this is in Newton. The Veteran Memorial Cemetery. My son was supposed to get up and recite some scripture, but once he got up there, he know what I'm saying, did away with that and spoke from the heart.
Every time she wanted to call off, she would always talk about how she wanted to go in to make sure that the doctors had a scribe and had someone there to help them. She was an incredibly strong woman. She battled with lupus for her whole life. And she's done so many selfless acts. I'm pretty sure everyone here can at least name one or two. She helped me with a lot of things that I had going on, like with my mental health, with my physical health, with school, with just life in general. She was my rock. She helped me with everything, and I can only hope to honor her memory by keeping on and finishing school and being the man that she wanted me to be.
He spoke his heart out, spoke about his mother, and the sailors there, they folded the flag. They had a little trouble. I remember thinking, man, because about me being prior military, and then about my son being like, he was in ROTC at one point in time. I almost started to tell him, look, let's just go up there and fold it ourselves, but we was able to keep it together, and they presented him with a flag. After he spoke, there was, everyone hugged. And by the way, at the service was Gwan's husband, her stepdaughter, her mom, of course, and her two kids, CJ and Octavia. So after, I hugged my son and all, I remember just going over to the side and just, man, I cried my heart out. And I mean, I cried hard. The opportunity for us to piece things up will never present itself again. But what does bring me some sort of solace is that, my son did mention to me that it was part of his mom's plan to plan like a dinner, some sort of dinner with us all, me, her, and my son. And I'm not sure who else she had in mind to invite. So that does bring me a bit of comfort to know that, even with the bad blood, if you will, even she was able to see that we were bigger than how we was moving. But I would like to say this about Gwan. Dominic was her miracle baby. Prior to Dominic, Gwan couldn't carry a child full term for whatever reasons, due to probably some health complications. But when she met me, and got a dose of my seed, my life-giving seed, then came Dominic. So I'm saying that to say that she was also very protective, rightfully so. Like I said, after I got out the military, I had a rough time getting my footing, trying to get established in the civilian world. So I stayed with some women. My life wasn't very stable. So I get why she was very protective over letting him come stay with me for the summer and things of that nature. Till it got to a point to where she blatantly just came out and told me, I can't keep keeping him from you. And that was when I was able to see Dominic more, and our bond, grew a lot stronger than what it was. But I'd like to say that she did most of the raising. She didn't do it alone. There was myself here and there. And she, like I said, she did have a husband. So he did have a man. He did have a man in his life who also gave him guidance when I wasn't present. But I got to say this, man. She raised our boy into an amazing young man. He damn near speaks Japanese, damn near fluent. She was instrumental. I mean, she taught him respect. She did a fantastic job with him. And that is something I used to always tell her, like, the relationship y'all got is just so fucking beautiful. She did an excellent job with my son. An excellent job. And might I add, there was not one fuck you or any variation of it that has ever come out of his mouth toward me. His heart has always been open for a relationship with me. And our relationship has been great for years. But there was a time when our bond wasn't as strong. Due to whatever I had going on in my life. Also, perhaps what she had going on in hers. So perhaps that's where, you know, a lot of the guilt comes from. You know? But I know one thing. I know right here, right now, I forgive myself. I forgive myself for not making amends way sooner. I forgive myself for not being a man. A man who just said, you know, let me squash this shit. Let me end this shit. It's the mother of my son. You know, I forgive myself for not doing that. For not mending a relationship when I had the chance. I forgive myself for that. And not only that, I've spoken to, you know, both my two oldest sons. And, you know, I let both of them know, like, look, when y'all talk to your moms, because I can't call her right now because she's away. Okay? She's away, and so I'm unable to speak with her, but they do. So yeah, I let them know, like, look, man, y'all talk to your moms, let her know. Well, first of all, tell her I said hello. You know what I'm saying? Let her know that I wish the best for her. I'm hoping the best for her. And let her know that I want her to know that. Because at the end of the day, these bum ass grudges, these bum ass spats that spill over, and you know what I'm saying, that are allowed to just go amongst this span of time is just unnecessary. I'm wiser from this experience. I'm wiser. You know, no longer do I have the mentality of, well, shit, they grown, so I don't need to talk to her. And no, I don't. Not on no regular basis. I'm not saying that. I am, however, saying because that's another relationship that wasn't on the best of terms. Because we have had an extremely toxic marriage. It was toxic even after the marriage, toxic years after the marriage. Matter of fact, I think the last time we spoke, it was on some toxic shit. I don't want no smoke. I don't want no more smoke. It's unnecessary. What's the point? Look, I'm responsible for how I move. I'm responsible for that. And that only. So regardless of anything, I'm keeping the peace. I'm keeping the lines of communication open. Losing the mother of your son is heavy. However, I forgive myself for not mending that when I had the chance. You know? I know I need to drop this guilt. Ain't nothing I can do to change that now. So I took this long ass journey in this pod to say that brothers and sisters, if you can piece some shit up, piece it up. Especially if your kids are grown or damn near grown. Squash that shit. Squash it. Think about the long term effect of this. I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling. So yeah, shout out to my third born son, whom I know is dealing with things I don't fully understand right now. But then again, I do. I understand that he's got a long road ahead of him. A long, long road. But he'll be fine. He's got me. Yeah. So yeah, man. Rest easy, Gwan.
I don't even know what a lane is. See no box neither. Welcome to Hoodies, the podcast. We go deep with the blast.